right, welcome to Back to School Night for Glasgow Middle School. Before we get started, I just wanted to point out some YouTube translation options. There are closed caption translations available through YouTube in multiple languages by following the steps below. So first, you'll click on the settings icon at the bottom of the video screen. I believe it looks like a gear. Then you can click subtitles/CC. Following that, you should see an option to click auto translate, and then you can select a language. With that said, welcome to Language Arts 8. I'm Miss O'Brien, and I have the privilege of being your student's language arts teacher this year. So a little bit about me. This is the slide that I showed to students, so in the spirit of transparency, I'm showing it to families as well. This is my 4th year teaching, both in general and at Glasgow Middle School. Up until this year, I taught 6th grade, so some of my current students were actually also my students in 6th grade, and I'm very excited to see how much they've grown since then. I went to the State University of New York at Geneseo for my undergrad, and then University of Virginia for my master's. And I also attended Oakton High School here in Fairfax County Public Schools, so I am a local. I'm obviously a very avid reader as a language arts teacher. I always love to have a new book on hand, and I encourage students to be constantly looking for a stack of books to build so that they always have a new one to grab as soon as they're done with the one they were previously reading. And aside from that, I am also an amateur bassist, and I love to talk about my cat all the time. She sometimes makes appearances in class, whether I ask her to or not. So thinking about Language Arts 8, I believe that students learn best when they are at the center of everything we do in class, rather than it being a teacher-based lecture where they're just taking notes. I believe that they should feel like a valued member of the community, have a growth mindset, and feel a connection to the content. Even if language arts isn't their favorite subject, I think there is something that every student can take away from it. And in order to be successful, students will need to engage in constant reflection. That kind of goes with the growth mindset piece. Use the resources provided to them, including technology, their classmates, and me. Everybody is here to help each other, and we want to foster a sense of confidence and independence, while students are also aware that it's okay if they can't do everything by themselves. And indeed, collaboration is an incredibly powerful learning tool, and they should be able to access it. Students should also be reading a book every day in class, whether that's an ebook, a physical book, whether it's some type of graphic novel, manga, or webtoon. They always want to be reading and thinking, and there will be time provided for that every day in class. And then lastly, students will need to be able to share their thinking and learn from the thinking of their classmates, whether that's done in writing, in small group discussions over the microphones, or whole group discussions. So our curriculum this year is broken down into 4 broad concept-based units. And in all of these units, students are reading texts of their choice, they're writing about what they're reading, they're discussing that with other students, they're working on writing pieces frequently and sharing them with their partners to get feedback. So we start out with a unit that begins with community and then blends into the concept of individuality. In our second unit, we're going to be talking about justice. In our third unit, we'll be talking about truth. And in the fourth unit, we'll be talking about reflection and growth. These all seem like very broad concepts, but I think the breadth there is their strength because it allows us to focus on a variety of genres instead of talking about, for example, poetry and only poetry, and then talking about essay writing and only essay writing. It really allows students to see how incredibly integral using language is to every aspect of their lives and how they interact with the world. So as for grading and assessments, within each unit, there will be formative assessments, which are checks for understanding during the learning process. So this might look like a short piece of writing or a reflection or a couple of multiple choice questions targeted to 1 or 2 skills. There are also summative assessments, which are judgments about what content and skills were learned. These are major and to see students' degree of mastery of a particular skill or set of skills. And then there will be other feedback about how your student is organized and behaving in school, whether that's through the report card, and including asynchronous work, which is the only homework I assign. And I also leave a lot of feedback in students' digital notebooks, which are a running document that they keep in their Google Classroom. I am available on Blackboard 24/7. My office hours are listed there, and I've also placed them here. They are from Mondays at 10 to 10:45 and Thursdays from 2:30 to 3:30. The syllabus is also available to view there. My contact information and the assignment grid for each week can be found there. I'm also active on Google Classroom. I cross-post a lot of the information from Blackboard to Google Classroom, such as the grid, and I also post announcements, reminders, and assignments for students. So then the grid itself can be found on both platforms, whichever you and your student are most comfortable accessing. And again, if you want to reach out to me, the best way is via that email. I always respond within a business day. And so when it comes to other ways that you might support your student, you can definitely ask, what are you learning in class, or show me your grid. And for the asynchronous assignments, it can be really helpful for students to talk through with you what assignments they have to do that day. What do we need to do to complete them? And let's look at your grid together. As for supplies, since we are doing virtual learning this year, I thought it would be helpful to go over the 3 most commonly used virtual tools. These are usually the tabs that students have open while we're in class together. So they use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra as the main platform where we are having discussions. We are going into differentiated breakout rooms during our workshop time so that students can choose the working environment that's best for them. And we are also working in Pear Deck slides, which is a type of enhancement for Google Slides. So each day students will come in and there will be a code for them to enter in the Pear Deck website, and they'll have that open. And that way they can provide responses, share reflections in their thinking as we move along throughout class. And then finally, every student has a digital notebook, which is housed in Google Classroom. Many students have also just made a direct bookmark to it because we work in this almost every day. And this is a place where students can write about their reading, write reflections, draft longer writing pieces, share ideas, just a place for them to collect everything that they've done throughout the year. So it looks like that is the end of our time together. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And again, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my email address is, I'll wait for that to go away. My email address is cobrien@fcps.edu. Thank you again for watching and have a wonderful rest of your evening.